The elders of Cyanwood Mountain had prepared a spectacle of domination, but the Boundless Green Sea became a graveyard for their pride instead. Bai Yunxiao and the other geniuses, once hailed as unstoppable, now hung inside a blood-soaked cage, crushed beneath the Dragon Bloodline Formation while the Monstrous Dragon Beasts mocked their helpless struggle. As ridicule spread through the crowd, and even the punishment department fell silent, a single name stepped into the chaos without fear: Chu Feng. They called him arrogant for walking toward the Crimson Lake. They laughed when they saw his rank 3 martial king cultivation, but none of them noticed the calm in his eyes, or the terrifying queen waiting beyond his world spirit gate. In recap, Martial God Asura, Chapter 1271-1275, humiliation turns into slaughter, legends are rewritten in blood, and the entire Boundless Green Sea witnesses why provoking Chu Feng comes with a price no one can survive. Imagine a battlefield that was supposed to showcase the triumph of prodigies, only to turn into a scene of utter humiliation. The air quivers with tension as Bai Yunxiao and his companions find themselves trapped, not by overwhelming numbers, not by brute force, but by a cunning, invisible cage of overwhelming pressure. Though their bodies show no wounds, the pain radiates from within, a testament to the monstrous might constraining them. Among them, Bai Yunxiao still struggles, fists pounding, a shadow of his former strength. His attempts to break free are pitifully weak compared to the force he wielded moments before. His allies fare even worse. Tao Shangyu and the others sit in silent torment, relying solely on inner cultivation to withstand the suffocating grip of the formation. Here, we see a profound lesson in Xianxia combat. Raw power alone cannot overcome precise strategy and premeditated tactics. The monstrous dragon beasts themselves observe with something almost like amusement, their eyes glinting with predatory intelligence. To them, these once mighty cultivators are now prey, trapped and vulnerable. The crowd of onlookers is struck dumb. They had expected a massacre in favor of the Cyanwood Mountain disciples, and instead, the hunters have become the hunted. Pride turns to shame in the blink of an eye. A classic reminder in the Wuxia world that arrogance is often the first step toward defeat. Sima Ying, a genius of world spirit techniques, identifies the nature of the trap. This is no ordinary formation. It is a bloodline formation technique, fueled by the lifeblood of the beasts themselves. The cruel brilliance of the monstrous dragon beasts is revealed. They sacrificed their kin to craft a lethal snare, ensuring that Bai Yunxiao and his comrades would walk right into it. Here, the narrative demonstrates a dark truth of martial politics. Victory often demands sacrifices, and the morality of such acts is subject to the victor's interpretation. As observers debate the cruelty of this method, we gain insight into character morality. Bai Rochen recoils at the idea, unable to countenance such deliberate sacrifice, while Bai Suyan pragmatically acknowledges that the result, absolute control over the battlefield, justifies the cost. This contrast highlights a recurring Xianxia theme: the tension between ethical restraint and the ruthless pursuit of power. The monstrous dragon beast king speaks with chilling authority, presenting an ultimatum: release the captives or witness their dismemberment. Yet even the most imposing elders of Cyanwood Mountain hesitate. The truth, laid bare by the king's words, cuts deeper than any blade. The disciples were never strong enough to truly dominate these beasts. The elders' power is undeniable, but their interference would betray the very purpose of the demonstration. This scene underscores a key lesson in cultivation strategy. Sometimes the most fearsome opponent is not the one in front of you, but the constraints imposed by pride and expectation. In this moment, the battlefield is as much psychological as it is physical. The monstrous dragon beast king turns the elders' potential action into a moral trap. Should they intervene, they reveal the inadequacy of their disciples. Should they stay passive, lives hang in the balance. It's a brilliant play of pressure, honor, and strategy, a masterclass in Xianxia tension. Finally, we witness the fallout. The Cyanwood Mountain disciples, once the pride of their sect, are now prisoners, their defeat glaringly public. The elders, though powerful enough to shift the outcome, are trapped by circumstance and reputation. The onlookers' amusement and shock blend into a potent mixture of awe and schadenfreude. The lesson is stark. Cultivation, strength, and even genius can falter against foresight, preparation, and the cold calculus of power. As we close this chapter, one question lingers. Can Bai Yunxiao and his allies find a way to reverse their fate, or is this just the opening move in a much larger, crueler game of strategy and blood? The stage is set, the tension palpable, and the audience is left to ponder the dangerous elegance of both power and its limits. Imagine a battlefield where even the mightiest warriors hesitate, where the air itself seems to tremble under the weight of expectation. That was the scene unfolding over the Boundless Green Sea, where the elders of Cyanwood Mountain faced the legendary Monstrous Dragon Beasts. And yet, despite their unimaginable power, these elders did not strike. Why? Because true pride and restraint often come wrapped in patience. They were waiting, almost desperately, for someone younger, bolder, and perhaps even reckless to turn the tide. They hoped, against reason, that the disciples they once praised would rise to the occasion. In this tense silence, mockery rang out. Sima Ying laughed. Not with caution, but with audacious glee, publicly taunting the elders as the monstrous Dragon Beast King growled and insulted. It was a scene dripping with humiliation, yet it revealed something deeper: the fragile balance of respect and authority in a world ruled by strength. Even the most fearsome figures must sometimes endure insult, for wisdom and strategy are not always aligned with brute force. And then, a voice cut through the chaos. A calm, piercing challenge that shifted every gaze to the master viewing platform. It was Chu Feng. Rising from his seat, he walked through the air with the quiet confidence of someone who had faced unimaginable odds before. In that moment, the young disciple became more than a name. He became a symbol of hope and audacity. To the unknowing crowd, he was merely a young genius, a prodigy whispered about in legends. But within Cyanwood Mountain, stories painted a more nuanced picture. Chu Feng had endured crushing defeats, been humbled by even his peers, and yet, here he was, stepping forward where others feared to tread. The monstrous Dragon Beast King, sensing the audacity in his approach, demanded to know his identity. Chu Feng's reply was simple, resolute. He was Cyanwood Mountain's own. But identity alone could not intimidate this ancient predator. What mattered was what Chu Feng represented: courage unshaken by ridicule, strategy untethered from fear, and the kind of resolve that could either inspire a miracle or invite death. As the crowd murmured, divided between reverence and doubt, the young disciple's reputation preceded him. Tales spread of his triggering of the ancient era's immortal needle, a feat that had eclipsed even the celebrated genius Yuan Qing. Yet whispers of his past humiliations surfaced, some claiming that Chu Feng had been beaten into submission before. Herein lies the fascinating duality of wuxia heroes. Glory and disgrace are often intertwined, and the measure of a martial artist is not their victories alone, but their capacity to rise again. Chu Feng, however, was undeterred by gossip, by praise, or by scorn. With each step toward the bloodied waters where the monstrous dragon beasts gathered, he closed the distance with deliberate calm. Observers, concerned and hesitant, tried to warn him away, but he ignored them, his focus absolute, his eyes meeting the crimson gaze of the Dragon King. Then came the moment that defined the confrontation. Chu Feng offered a choice: surrender, and life might be spared. Resist, and annihilation awaited. His words were cold, impartial, yet carried the weight of authority that only true cultivators possess. The understanding that power is not in threats alone, but in the certainty that they can be enforced. What makes this scene compelling is not merely the clash of martial prowess, but the revelation of character and principle. Chu Feng embodies the essence of the wuxia spirit, a fusion of bravery, calculated risk, and inner cultivation that commands respect without needing to shout. He doesn't seek validation from the crowd. He seeks the decisive action that only a master of Tao and martial intent can perform. And in that calm before the storm, the audience feels the tension of inevitability. Will courage alone suffice, or will the monstrous dragon beasts prove that some legends are yet untested? In the world of the Boundless Green Sea, one step can alter destinies. One challenge can ignite legend. Chu Feng has stepped onto the stage, and nothing will be the same. The question now isn't just whether he can survive, but how his defiance will reshape the fate of Cyanwood Mountain itself. Imagine standing on the edge of a battlefield where legends clash, and suddenly, a single figure steps forward, bold, unflinching, and seemingly defying fate itself. That is Chu Feng. And in this moment, his audacity is not just shocking, it is dangerous, magnetic, and utterly captivating. He faces the Monstrous Dragon Beast King, a being whose very presence bends the air with crushing might. And yet, Chu Feng dares to speak with a confidence that freezes the crowd in awe and terror alike. The scene begins with an audacious declaration. While the spectators recoil at his words, even the Dragon King is momentarily amused, laughing at what it perceives as the naive boastings of a mere rank 3 martial king. This is where the first lesson of this encounter emerges. In Xianxia, cultivation level alone does not always dictate the tides of fate. Chu Feng's confidence is not born from recklessness, but from a deeper understanding. He knows the trump card that has yet to be revealed. As the Monstrous Dragon Beast King's wrath finally erupts, its oppressive aura ripples like a storm across the land, threatening to annihilate everything below the half-martial emperor realm. For the onlookers, the tension is suffocating. Yet, at the critical moment, Chu Feng unveils his secret, the World Spirit Gate. This is no mere defense. It is an extension of his cultivation, a manifestation of his strategic genius. The aura of the Dragon King is swallowed, its power neutralized before anyone can comprehend what just happened. It is a brilliant demonstration of how cleverness, cultivation insight, and precise timing can turn even the mightiest force into nothing. Then, the true spectacle begins. Her Lady Queen, also known as Eggy, steps through the World Spirit Gate. This is where the narrative pivots from bold defiance to awe-inspiring revelation. Eggy is a rank 5 martial king-level world spirit, but legends speak of the Asura world spirit's immeasurable power. Her presence alone reshapes the battlefield. Chu Feng, in a rare moment of calm, entrusts the chaos to her. This is a profound act of trust and strategy. He understands not only her power, but how to leverage it to crush his enemies while minimizing risk to himself. Eggy's transformation is dramatic. Dark black gaseous flames erupt from her body, forming a massive, 6-fingered palm that moves with terrifying speed. Thousands of monstrous dragon beasts are caught instantly, their fear palpable, their might rendered useless. The power of an Asura world spirit is not just raw strength, it is control, precision, and the ability to turn legend into reality. Observers, once scoffing at Chu Feng's supposed weakness, now face the terrifying truth. What seems small can wield unimaginable force when guided by strategy and mastery. The Monstrous Dragon Beast King, now cornered, responds with its Dragon Bloodline Formation, crimson chains winding toward Eggy. This escalation reminds us that even in the face of overwhelming power, opponents of legend will always seek to fight back. It is here that the chapter emphasizes a recurring Xianxia theme. Mastery is not static, and every victory requires adaptation, insight, and the courage to face escalating dangers. From a narrative perspective, this chapter does more than show a battle. It illuminates Chu Feng's character. He is audacious but calculated, fearless yet reliant on strategy. His cultivation may only be rank 3, yet his understanding of world spirits, timing, and battlefield psychology elevates him far above those who judge power by numbers alone. Eggy, as his trump card, embodies not only overwhelming force, but also the idea that true strength in Xianxia often lies hidden, waiting for the moment to redefine the impossible. As we watch the crimson chains snake toward Eggy and the battlefield tremble under her might, one question lingers. How far will Chu Feng's gamble with the Asura world spirit carry him? Can strategy and cunning consistently overcome raw, overwhelming power? Or will the Dragon King's next move push even the legendary Asura into unforeseen peril? This chapter leaves us on the precipice, a reminder that in the world of martial God Asura, every act of defiance carries consequences, and every legend can rise or fall in a heartbeat. Imagine standing at the edge of a lake where the air itself trembles with fury, where monsters that could summon storms clash with beings of unimaginable power. This is no ordinary battle. This is a collision of wills, bloodlines, and the raw essence of martial destiny. And at the center of this chaos stands Chu Feng, the strategist whose brilliance has just tipped the scales of life and death. In this moment, he extends his hand, not in desperation, but with the quiet confidence of someone who has already orchestrated victory. From his palm shoot two brilliant ovals of light, almost like celestial seeds, one enveloping him, the other shielding Egi. To the untrained eye, it might seem simple, just light, but in truth, it is a masterpiece of formation arts, meticulously crafted to counteract the fearsome, monstrous dragon beasts. Dragon Bloodline Formation. Even seasoned elders stare in disbelief. Chu Feng isn't gambling with fate. He is bending it, transforming what seemed impossible into certainty. With this protective formation in place, Egi steps forward, no longer just a participant, but a force of annihilation. The Monstrous Dragon Beast King, a half-martial emperor with scales like iron and aura that bends the clouds, confronts her. The scene is apocalyptic. The lake churns, mist scatters, and the very air shivers under the weight of their power. Yet Egi does not falter. Her mastery over her dark black gaseous flames turns formless mist into monstrous hands and jaws, eyes gleaming with killing intent. These flames are more than a weapon. They are an extension of her soul, a living, breathing expression of her wrath and precision. Here's where the calculus of combat becomes fascinating. The battle isn't just about strength, it's about psychological dominance, about cruelty and deterrence. Egi asserts this through sheer strategic brutality. The over 1,000 monstrous dragon beasts she had captured earlier are consumed, not just defeated. Their once proud forms shredded and devoured, their cries echoing across the battlefield. This is a masterclass in controlling both battlefield and morale. Egi demonstrates that to be feared is as crucial as to be strong. The audience, both in story and us as observers, witness a terrifying but precise display of tactical dominance. Now consider the Dragon Beast King's response. Grief-stricken, enraged, and desperate, its body transforms, crimson and black veins spreading, doubling in size, doubling the aura of menace. It is a classic half-martial emperor reaction, brute force amplified by fury. But Egi remains unmoved. Her crimson gaze and mocking smile show a practitioner not just wielding power, but understanding it. She expands her black flames into 9 immense hands, binding the king, piercing its scales, and tearing at its very essence. This is an interplay of cultivation and strategy. She manipulates raw energy with surgical intent. The climax comes when the black flames materialize into a monstrous skull, devouring the Dragon Beast King in a final, definitive strike. The roar that escapes is heartbreaking, echoing through the heavens. A fitting elegy for a creature of such stature, but also a testament to Egi's ruthlessness and control. The battlefield, once dominated by the terror of the dragon beasts, now belongs to her. What this chapter reveals beyond the spectacle is the intricate dance of preparation and foresight in cultivation-based combat. Chu Feng's hidden formation shows us that genius is not measured by brute strength alone, but by understanding, anticipation, and the patience to strike when the moment is perfect. Egi's dominance, meanwhile, reminds us that power without strategy is chaos, but power guided by intent becomes legend. So as the echoes of destruction fade, one must ask, who truly commands destiny here? The one who prepares meticulously, or the one who unleashes wrath with precision? In the next chapter, will we see Egi consolidate this supremacy, or will another force challenge the balance she has forged in blood and flame? One thing is certain. In the world of martial gods and dragon kings, nothing is ever simple, and every battle leaves echoes that shape the path of those who dare to fight. A king was devoured in front of an entire sea of witnesses. And the truly terrifying part was not his death. It was the smile of the one who killed him. Moments earlier, the battlefield seemed destined to become a humiliation for the Cyanwood Mountain. A monstrous ruler stood above the crowd, radiating the pressure of a half-martial emperor. To most observers, the outcome looked obvious. Then Chu Feng's world spirits stepped forward. What followed was less a battle and more a demonstration of absolute dominance. The dark entity summoned by Egi tore through the monstrous dragon beast king with frightening efficiency. The creature was ripped apart piece by piece until nothing remained. No heroic struggle, no miraculous comeback, just complete destruction. And that contrast is what makes this moment so memorable. When the violence ended, Egi did not look like a bloodthirsty monster. She looked exactly as she always did. Calm, beautiful, almost playful. Yet everyone watching now understood a terrifying truth. Beneath that elegant appearance existed a being capable of reducing a king-level opponent into nothingness. In many cultivation stories, strength is announced through long speeches and dramatic declarations. Here, strength speaks through results. Eggy never needed to convince anyone she was dangerous. The battlefield itself became her proof. What shocked the crowd even more was the gap in cultivation. A rank 5 martial king helping eliminate an opponent at the half-martial emperor level is the kind of feat that completely reshapes people's understanding of power. It forces everyone to reconsider what they thought was possible. And once the truth of her origin began spreading, the shock only intensified. An Asura world spirit. That title alone carries enormous weight. The Asura spirit world has long been associated with legends, fear, and overwhelming combat power. For many cultivators, hearing that a person possesses an Asura world spirit is almost as shocking as witnessing a miracle. Suddenly, Eggy's frightening performance no longer seemed like an isolated event. It became evidence of just how extraordinary Chu Feng truly was. This is where the chapter shifts from a battle victory into something much more important: reputation. For a long time, Chu Feng has faced doubt, jealousy, and opposition. Some questioned his talent, others tried to diminish his achievements. Certain factions within the Cyanwood Mountain actively wished to see him fail, but cultivation worlds are brutal meritocracies. When a crisis arrives, words lose value. Results become everything, and Chu Feng delivered results that nobody could deny. The same people who once questioned him now found themselves forced into silence. The same spectators who hesitated to support him began cheering his name. Event hosts who disliked him could do little more than watch as public opinion shifted in his favor. This is a fascinating power dynamic. Chu Feng did not defeat his critics through arguments. He defeated them through accomplishment. There is a saying of 10 reflected in Xianxia stories. When one's cultivation reaches a certain level, the strongest rebuttal is simply success. Every achievement becomes as lap in the face of those who underestimated you. Their actions of the crowd reveal this perfectly. Some elders praised him openly. Many disciples celebrated him as a hero. Others looked as thought they had swallowed something bitter. And perhaps the most interesting group was the punishment department. These were people who had often stood against Chu Feng, yet now they faced an uncomfortable reality. Refusing to acknowledge his contribution would make them appear unreasonable. Praising him would mean recognizing the very person they opposed. They were trapped, and Chu Feng understood it. That subtle satisfaction he feels is not arrogance. It is vindication. Everything he did here served a larger purpose. Not merely saving the Cyanwood Mountain, not merely defeating a powerful enemy, but proving himself. He wanted all eyes, enemies and strangers alike, to witness his value with their own eyes. Because in the cultivation world, true status is not granted by titles or departments. It is earned through undeniable achievements. By the end of this event, the battlefield had become a stage. The crowd had become witnesses, and Chu Feng had transformed from a controversial disciple into the central figure everyone was talking about. But this victory may carry consequences beyond simple fame. The greater a genius shines, the more attention he attracts. The louder the cheers become, the deeper the envy grows. And now that the world has seen what Chu Feng and Eggy are capable of, one question remains. Who will be the next person foolish enough to stand in their path?